See, I was trying to give you the clap in.
I know you were.
Yeah. You want to know the secret is the way software is now, like Resolve, you don't even need to do a clap in. You can just hit one button. It'll find it based on the waveforms and automatically sync it for you.
Yeah, I know. You showed me how to do that one time.
And you have since totally forgotten?
No, it's not. I can get that part down. It's the...
Everything else?
That program that you gave me is so sophisticated that, like, there's so many options. I get, like, option overwhelmed, and I'm just like, I'm out. I'm going back to my simple little program.
Yeah, well, that's how I feel, like, anytime I look underneath your car.
Yeah, yeah. Well, welcome, everybody, to Everything in Racing. This is kind of a special episode. I have my older brother, Peter, on today.
It's good to be here.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so Peter kind of helped come around and help with the set here a little bit, get the lighting a little bit better. That was one of the big comments we saw a lot of times was, it's too dark. It's too dark.
You know, I think something I really appreciate about you, Nate, is that you actually listen to your commenters. Like, you are the Sonic the Hedgehog of podcasts. When an audience said to the directors of Sonic, that's not what Sonic looks like, they changed it. Well, when your audience says, we can't see you, you bought some lights.
Yeah, that was... I remember what that
Do you remember
horrible
that?
Sonic. Oh my god! If y'all don't know what Peter's referring to here, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie came out like what 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
I think it was
Something
4
like
or
that.
5.
The first commercial came out for it, and like the Sonic that they had designed was this like nightmare creature. It was horrible. Did not look anything like the video games. And everyone was like, ban this movie, do not watch this movie. And they like shut down the movie and reanimated it, to fix it.
Yeah.
So, like,
and the movie went on to make like $250 million at the box office, which, I think you listen to your audience, good things happen.
So you are in the photography / cinematography.
Yeah,
world.
I'm a commercial film director, so I've done work in movies and television. I shoot a lot of television commercials, but like from the professional filmmaking side, that's where I live.
Yeah, yep.
And I know absolutely nothing about racing, which has me really excited to be here, because I understand that you do.
I know a little bit about racing.
Okay.
We named it Everything in Racing because that's what we're trying to learn.
Okay.
We're trying to learn everything in racing.
Okay. So if you I guess my question is, for somebody who knows nothing in racing, what's kind of the first thing I should want to know about the type of racing that you do? Because it's different than maybe what a plebe would consider to be racing. Is that right?
Yeah, so the first thing you should know about racing is that the barrier to entry is a lot lower than most people think that it is. They
Is that a new thing, or is that has that always been the case?
So I'm not sure about other types of racing, but drag racing, it's always been the case that the barrier of entry is actually very, very low.
Huh.
Basically, all you need is a car of any kind, right? It can. You are a Tesla fan.
Sure.
I'm a Tesla hater, and that's perfectly fine. I think that electric is stupid.
Okay.
Right. It has no soul, right? And that's why I don't like it. But that's me and you. That's our differences in cars.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, I own a Tesla for the same reason I own an iPhone. I don't want to have to think about my car.
Yeah. But it is funny because like you got your Tesla and you're like, this thing's fast, and I was like,
I'm sure I don't know what fast is.
It is quick. It is not fast.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Can you break that down? Like, what is the difference in your mind between quick and fast?
So quick is you're like off the line and it gets up to speed, right? And a Tesla will do that. It quickly gets up to speed, but then you can tell when it plateaus, right? Fast is it kicks you in the butt and it keeps getting faster, right? At no point when we're going down the drag strip do the cars top out. Do they stop getting faster?
Okay.
Right? So I've actually raced several Teslas through the years, right? And they will always get you off the line. They just take off the line. They'll be out on you about 2 cars, and then you reel them in, and you just go past.
So I'm curious then, like, what's that peak difference where quick gets overtaken by fast?
Horsepower.
No, but I mean, like, distance-wise. So, like, obviously a drag race is, how far is a drag race? Quarter mile?
1/8 mile and quarter mile.
1/8 mile and quarter mile. Okay. So, like, let's say I could do a 16th mile. Would a 16th mile, would quick beat fast? Like, what's that point where quick is better than fast?
What you're talking there is the 330 is what we call it, 330 feet out. Because an 1/8 mile is 660 feet, and then a quarter mile is 1320.
Okay.
You know, that's why it's called 1320 Video. You know, all that stuff, right? I'm representing 1320 Video today.
I like it.
Yeah. So there's 1,320 feet in a quarter mile, 660 in an eighth mile. So you're talking about the 330. Most Teslas are going to be good to the 330. You know, but it's they're 0 to like the 60 foot. They're probably going to beat you for most street cars.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So something that you could buy. So like you buy your Tesla, I go buy a Mustang, right? The Tesla's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? But it basically tops out at about the 300 foot mark. You're no longer gaining horsepower, torque, anything like that, right?
So like 85 miles, 90 miles an hour, that's where you're going to kind of like see that decrease in, you know,
Yep.
my 0 to 70 speed is lightning fast, but my 70 to 100 speed is going to take me, you know, 8-9 seconds to make up that difference.
Yeah, so if you're looking at it like a graph,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's going to spike real hard and then it's going to plateau,
Gotcha.
right? Whereas like for me, it's going to go up a whole lot slower, right? It's not going to spike as hard, but the graph keeps going and going and going and going.
Okay.
You know, to where, you know, like my 60 to let's say 180 miles an hour is going to be somewhere in like the 2.5 second range,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even a little bit less, depending on the setup we're doing with the car right now. Right. And also, you know, my 0 to 60 time. So like your Tesla right now probably has this 0 to 60 time of somewhere in the 2.9
It's like 2.9
seconds. Somewhere in there.
So to be clear, I've never done it in under 3
Mm-hmm.
on my particular model.
Yeah.
I know that there are people who have,
So,
but I haven't.
But you're also the difference you're talking about there, which is this is again introduction in racing, is prep,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you've tried to do that, you've done that on a bare road,
Bare roads,
You
street
know,
tires.
street tires. You know, there's little like dirt and gravel on the road and stuff like that, like
Right.
stuff that's on every single road. Whereas like when you see a manufacturer 0 to 60 time, that's on a prepped surface.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah, so we put down, especially on the first 60 feet, we put down rubber and glue
Okay.
to help the cars. You know, if you ever go to a
Yeah,
racetrack,
traction.
you hear guys walking is going quick, 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 quick. That's glue. It's literally glue that we spray down on the track to help.
Oh, we used to do that
Right?
in baseball.
Yeah. You know, it's like putting the tar on the baseball bat, right? So you hold it better, and
Yeah, I mean,
And-
just a little bit of sticky stuff on your fingers.
yep, that way you don't lose the baseball bat, you know, as you swing.
Oh, I meant for throwing the baseball, but, you know, I don't want to call myself out for cheating or anything.
Well, you are renowned for cheating at Monopoly, which you can cheat, but you have to be the banker, which somebody always insisted on being on.
So, all right. So talk me through this then. Because I think I realized that this and you are kind of a big deal. About 6 months ago, when I met somebody for the first time, and they heard my last name, and they said, "Oh, are you related to the Fast Plumber?" And I'll be honest, I'd never heard of the Fast Plumber.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked, "Do you mean Nate?" They were like, "Yes, this guy, like, he is amazing." So walk me through.
I want to know who this was.
Walk me through.
I am not a big deal at
You're like-
all.
You're like, dude, that guy's a big deal to me. I want to know who my fan is.
Yeah.
You have one.
Yeah. I
So
literally
talk
have a
me through,
fan.
Like, how did you get into this? And who the fuck are you?
Yeah. So I got into this because actually a mutual friend of ours, Nick Baranski,
Okay.
you know, he was on.
I think I introduced you to Nick, didn't I?
You did. I didn't realize till later. I'd met Nick Baranski when we came down for the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
I was introduced to Nick at that point, and then later on, you introduced me to Nick again.
Okay.
And so when I bought that Infinity,
Yeah.
right, I was on the tech team, and like Nick
Was
and
that
I,
a black Infinity?
it was a black. I love black cars.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that car.
Yeah, and so I'd gotten rid of the Crapsis.
Mhm.
So, and for anyone who doesn't know, the Crapsis was a 1993 Lexus LS300, which sounds really fancy. It was not. It had 330,000 miles on it when I bought it for $1,000
Yeah.
from our sister. And the only reason I got it for $1,000 from her was because she was in credit card debt, and Mom and Dad were bailing her out. And
Was that Katie?
No, Molly.
That was Molly.
And Mom and Dad were like, "We're going to sell you this car for $1,000 to help your sister."
Okay. My
Right.
first car was a Lexus too. It was a 1990 Flood vehicle
Yes.
that I bought for like $850.
Didn't we name that thing Gomer?
Yeah, Gomer the Big Brown Pile.
Yeah, the big brown prize.
and grew up in very conservative circles, so we couldn't finish the name. But I'm pretty sure the full name
It was a
was
big-
Go Over to the Big Brown Pile of Shit.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You say conservative family. Our father's a pastor,
Yes.
right? And so swearing was always frowned upon.
Well, sure. I'm sure that you have like people who just beep all this out on your podcast, right? Like your editor guy does that.
I leave it all in.
You leave it all in.
I leave it
I'll
all
have to
in.
clean it up then.
Yeah.
This is a family show.
Yeah. We're bringing this down.
Okay, so we're at your Infinity.
Yeah, so I bought the Infinity, and I knew nothing about car care. I knew nothing about, having a faster car. And to be 100% honest, the Infinity was not fast. It was quick.
Yeah.
Right? It was the first quick car I'd ever bought. And I knew Nick knew something about cars.
Okay.
Because he'd always talked about cars, and that was Nick's thing. So we were working on tech one Sunday, and I said, "Hey, I just bought this Infinity. It's kind of quick, but I know nothing about taking care of it. I know nothing about maintenance. I know nothing. Can you walk me through some of it? Can you check out the car? Just kind of give me the 101 on how to take care of cars."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Nick was like, "Absolutely, bring it over to my house." He gave me his address and everything, and brought it over there, and we just started hanging out. Nick and I, and he took me to my first car show, which was an absolute crapshoot.
Yeah.
The car show had 5 cars. And one of them was Nick's, right? It was that blue Camaro that he had before the orange one.
I
Yeah.
remember that car.
Yeah, beautiful car. And so then he took me to my first drag race, which was at Galot Motorsports Park, right down here in Dumbenson, and it was a YouTuber shootout
Okay.
called the YouTuber Call Out. Street Speed 717. It's just a 6. A bunch of YouTube channels between 200,000 and 2 million subscribers.
Right.
Right. I'm trying to think if there's any that you would know. Dirty Max. Cletus McFarlane was there
Okay.
on that one. You're kind of in the YouTube space a little bit.
Yeah, I mean a lot of
with,
the
like
creator
Mr. Beast
space.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And so he took me to that, and I was like, "Oh, like this is kind of cool. Like I've never been to a drag strip before, right?" Started messing around with my car a little bit, and then I'd had a couple. I made a career change at that point. That's when I stopped working at Pipetex and I went to work at VDH.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, was making a little bit more money. Was on the road to getting married, and was like, well, if I'm gonna pick out another car at some point, this is my last opportunity before I'm told I'm never allowed to do it again.
Sure.
So I started shopping around. I had a friend that worked at Auction Direct USA on Glenwood, and told him, "Look, man, I'm looking for American Muscle. I want a V8, and I wanted it all black." And I was
That's
like,
it.
I'd like something 2015 or newer. I want a more modern drivetrain. And he's like, "Okay, Bo, if anything comes in, I'll let you know." And he called me about a month later, and he had emotional damage there. 2 owners previously, 30,000 miles on it, black on black. It was manual. I'd never driven a manual.
Wait, you didn't know how to drive stick at the time?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. I'd driven a Miata one time
So-
and stalled it like 10 times.
Do you know what Rochelle and I's first car was?
It was that Z, wasn't it?
No, it was a Toyota MR2. A
An
1982,
MR2.
a 1982 Toyota MR2 manual mid-engine.
Yeah.
It was the last year they made that car. That thing was the most fun thing in the world to drive, and it was a total complete piece of crap.
You should watch Boosted Boys.
Yeah.
They have an MR2 that they drag race, and they have to replace the motor in it every other pass.
Yeah, I by the time we got rid of it, we'd lost second and third.
Yep.
So like you'd get it going, and then you'd have to get it going fast enough in first to jump all the way to fourth.
Yep.
And half the time you'd stall out.
Yeah.
That thing, but I loved that car.
Yeah.
We sold it for $100.
Yeah. There's something just fun about a crappy car.
Oh yeah.
I believe everyone should own a really crappy car at some point.
Mhm.
Right? It builds character, but it's also a lot of fun.
If I I was 23 when we had to get rid of that car. and we didn't have any money. We were church mice. But like if I were where I am now and I still had that car, I would totally turn it into a project car. Like I wouldn't have sold it, because that would be a great car to like take Brady and open it up and kind of learn how to change an engine. I mean, it needed an alternator, it needed a new transmission, it needed new. Probably just needed new everything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could have swapped out the seats and that would have been an improvement.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so let's pick up where we left off.
Okay, so
Emotional. You just found emotional damage.
Yeah.
She's a stick shift.
Yep. So came to a deal, bought the car, and just started figuring it out. Right. I'd never mechanicked on a car before. Always was like, take it to Jiffy Lube and get an oil change on it. And I just decided when I bought that car, I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn. I'm a plumber, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason I can't not work on the car, right? And if I just take my time and I look it up on YouTube, I can probably figure this out. And, like, I did little things, like I did put a cold air intake on it, change the tires on it, little thing, little bit. And then, and then I started telling Nick what I was thinking of doing, and Nick was like, oh, I'll come help. I know a little bit about working on cars too, right? And it's turned into this monster now of where, like, I've completely disassembled that car and completely reassembled that car multiple times now, without instructions.
Yeah. I've come over to your garage multiple times, and it's just there's car all over it.
So we actually have something in our garage called the Peter Principle.
Okay.
And it's named after you.
Okay.
So I remember I called you one time because I had to pull the transmission out of the car to work on something. And to pull the drive shaft out, there was 6 bolts on the back of it, right? And I handed you a wrench to pull it out. It was this little, tiny little one. And I said, Peter, this is what you're going to need to pull it out. And you said, no, Nate, no. Well, I need the bigger ratcheting one. I said, no, Peter, this is really the one that you need. And you said, no, Nate, I know what I'm doing. Right? And so you went and you got a bigger ratcheting wrench, and you put it on there, and you loosened up that bolt until it went doink and tightened up against the drive shaft itself to where you could no longer move it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I have no memory of this.
Yeah, I was laughing at you, not with you. You were not happy when that happened. I was definitely laughing at you. And you're like, oh, it's stuck. And I went, oh, no. How could that possibly have happened? I wonder if anyone could have warned you otherwise. And so now Nick and I, when we're loosening something and we realize it's tightening into another object, we go, oh, no, it's the Peter Principle.
Well, I'm glad to have taught everyone a lesson.
Yes, you taught all of us a lesson, and we're laughing at you with you. You just don't know it.
I'm happy for you.
Yes.
Okay, so you've bought emotional damage. You've kind of figured out how did you how did you kind of find the circuit that you're in? Am I using the right term?
Yeah, circuit is a good word for it. Group, stuff like that. So I started doing a lot of test and tunes. So that was what I was kind of going back to earlier was the barrier of entry.
Mm-hmm.
So to get onto a track for drag racing, you need to go on a test and tune night. It's usually like $20 or $30 to get your car in, and you need a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? They will let you on the track, right? And it's just a matter of learning how to drag race,
mm-hmm.
right? There's certain etiquette, like in anything, like in golf, how there's etiquette. There's etiquette in racing. How you stage the car, you take the car down there, you make sure you have your lights on, you turn off the end of the track quickly, you don't oil down the track and stuff like that. If you're having a problem with the car, fix the car. Don't just take it out there.
Right.
And like you learn all of this systematically. So I did a year to a year and a half of test and tunes, basically figuring out and breaking the car.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the only part about drag racing is the faster you go, the harder you go, the more stuff you're going to discover is weak on the car.
Right.
I broke axles. I stripped the clutch. I bent all of the drive shaft bolts so that they look like that, right? And it was a learning process, right? Eventually, I'd been doing it long enough, and I'd made enough changes to the car that I started to get a small group of guys that knew me, were giving me advice, and then I got invited to the 252 list, which is where I've done most of my racing. I got hooked up with a tuner at that point who could like get into the computer and make the changes to the car that I needed, and was, you know, invited into a very specific class, which was like the slow guys class for babies. But that's fine. That's where you got to start.
Mhm.
Right? You don't start at the top of the range. It's just been a, you know, so 252 is generally between 5 and 7 races a year, at a couple different tracks. They don't just do it at the same track every single time. Last year I did get into 2 series where I did the 252 and then I did the Kinston Renegade series as well. I did fairly good in the Kinston Renegade series. The 252 I didn't do as well because we just had a lot of car problems, and a lot of the events got rained out, and I didn't make the last 3 races because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, along the way, you know, Nick has been the biggest help of all. I met Frey, and you know, I've made a lot of friends.
Yeah.
I've made a couple enemies too. You know.
Well, I feel like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels like, you know, a little bit of that, you know, the Fast and Furious culture maybe, and like, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have the people that you're friends with that are your family, and you're gonna have the racers that are like, you know, the dark horses, and you know, you're not in their group, and so you're enemies.
Yeah, when like there's sometimes you find that you're the bad guy a little bit.
Okay.
Like you're seen as the bad guy for whatever reason, whether they think you're an asshole.
Right.
Or they
It
think,
turns
you
out
know,
I'm the
you're-
asshole.
Yeah, it turns out I am the asshole. You know, and you know, you can either choose to lean into that, you can choose to bury the hatchet with people.
So how
you
like
know.
WWE is this? Like, you know, are we talking like full on dramatization, or is this
It's as much or as little as you want to be.
okay?
Right? Like there's some guys I know that I race with, right? That they're very fast, they're very good guys, and they stay out of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I'm just not getting into. I'm going to stay away. If you're going to bring drama, you can go somewhere else.
Gotcha. So
Right.
they are there to race.
They're there to race, right? And then there's other guys that are like all in on the drama, right? And they're constantly trying to stir the pot. You know, they're constantly trying to push people's buttons, and you know, and some of the funniest things I've ever heard are crap talk between 2 guys at a drag strip.
Mhm.
You know, of just absolutely talking out their butts, but it is the funniest stuff I've ever heard. I tend to fall somewhere right in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
right, where I like to have a good time. I like to talk crap, you know, and I'm definitely, if you and I end up with a race with each other, I'm going to try and get into your head. I'm going to try and throw you off your game. But the moment that we get to the other end of the track, I want to be good. We're going to be good, right? I'm going to shake your hand. I'm going to make sure that there's no hard feelings, and we're going to go on with our day.
Yeah.
You know, there's some guys that, in my opinion, take it too seriously. You know, they you know, at the end of the day, we're all there to race.
Right.
We're not there to make money. You know, nobody makes money in racing.
Well, that's a good question. So, like, is this like golf for you, or is this like real? Like, how expensive is this of a hobby?
There's a great saying in racing. The best way to make a small fortune in racing is to start with a large one. Right? Very, very few guys make money in racing, and none of them are the racers themselves.
Gotcha.
Or very few of them are the racers themselves. Like, you'll have a John Force and a Clay Millican, like the peak of it. But, like, realistically, you know, most of your higher end race cars are going to cost you somewhere between $70,000 and $120,000, right? For your standard go to the track, see it racing, right? And you can have cars that are $500,000, $600,000, $1 million for these race cars, right? And if you win $50,000, like, so let's say you've got Clay Millican, he's a top fuel drag racer, right? One of those big long rail cars that does 336 miles an hour, right? The car itself, all built together, is a $500,000 car,
Gotcha.
right? But in between every single run, they replace pistons, rods, heads, every single piece for the engine, and the clutches, right? So every run costs them $20,000,
Holy crap.
right? They might win $25,000 at an event.
So he has to win.
He has, like, what you have to win, what you have to have is sponsors, right? even if you win, you still lose money. So you
Mhm.
have to have sponsors at that level to promote it and to pay you.
Right.
That's where most of those guys make their money, is on the sponsorship. They don't make really any money from winning.
So how much have you put in, and how much have you won, and does Abby know?
So the deal Abby and I made a long time ago is that cash jobs that I do, that gets to be my play money.
Okay.
That gets to be car money. Our family budget does not go to the race car or the race program, because it'd be too easy, right? To just be like, oh, I need 500 here, I need 1,000 there, I need and that wouldn't be right.
Mhm.
Like, I got to take care of my family first.
All right. So for any VDH plumbing clients out there, what you just heard is
Pay cash.
pay cash.
Yes, absolutely. We can work out a deal.
Yeah. You can become a sponsor. In fact, if you pay enough cash, he'll put your name on the hood.
Probably, yes. I will do that. I have a couple sponsors on the car. Nothing major, just a couple little things. And somebody accused me of being a sellout. I was like, yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. No, I will sell out.
I will be a sellout in a second.
Yeah.
I will sell you whatever product you want me to sell.
So I'm in filmmaking, and we talk about a thing called the filmmaker tax.
Yes.
And it's just that, like, stupid little things are way more expensive than they should be.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought a cable that is it's a 12-inch cable that is a USB-C cable with one extra strand on the inside to carry one extra piece of data, and it cost me $180 to buy this one cable.
Yep.
Because they can.
Mm-hmm.
Is it similar in car parts?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because basically I would say where the tax is the power level that you're going for.
Gotcha. So, like, my Honda Accord, I'm not getting taxed out the wazoo for that, but you're trying to get a fine-tuned piece of machinery,
Yep.
get down the track faster than somebody else's fine-tuned piece of machinery,
Yep.
the components to make that happen.
Yep. So something like injectors, right? A stock injector is going to cost you like $30, $35, right? If you want a bigger injector, and it's the same size, the same physical size, the only difference is the materials that it's made out of and the amount of fuel that it will allow to flow through it.
Gotcha.
Right? That's the only difference between these two pieces of metal and plastic. This one costs $35. This one costs $300. Right? And that's the...
Dear heavens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a drastic difference on it. And then, like, even certain vehicles have certain taxes. Like, Nick and I always joke about the Corvette tax, right? Everything for a Corvette is more expensive because it's a Corvette,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's nothing...
Which in my mind is stupid, because if you bought a Corvette, it's just because you didn't have enough money to buy a McLaren. Like, I feel like
No.
everybody who buys a Corvette... The styling on the new Corvettes, it's like it's a baby McLaren.
They're more going after Porsche, really. Porsche and Ferrari.
No, they're much more European styling than Porsche is.
They
Price point, yes. I'm just talking about the physical styling of the car, moving the engine to the mid.
Yes.
The cut of the car, the way the scoops are. I mean, you put it side by side with a mid 2010s McLaren. There's a lot of similarities.
I would rather have the Corvette than the McLaren.
Really?
Mostly because of the electronics.
Okay.
U.S.-made electronics are way better than the British-made electronics.
When I think of fine mechanics, I don't think of the Brits.
No,
I think of the Germans.
Yes, I mean, look, Jag, Aston Martin, McLaren.
Yeah.
These are all amazing companies, and I wouldn't mind owning one or two of those cars at some point. Let me rephrase that. I wouldn't mind driving some of these cars at some point, right? But like a McLaren, is a carbon fiber tubbed vehicle. There's no frame,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you, let's say, accidentally, go over a speed bump a little too fast and it cracks part of that tub, you have to total the car.
Really?
That's it. The car's done.
So it's not a driving car.
No, it's for looks. You can take it to a track day.
Oh
Right.
no! You take it to a world premiere.
Yeah,
Take it to the Met Gala.
You take it to like the nicest restaurant you can, and you park it out front.
Yeah, like
that is what it's
Applebee's.
meant for, right? There's a great story of Ferrari, right? Ferrari California was hosting a rally event, which went from San Diego down to Los Angeles.
You mean other way around?
No, that was the plan.
San Diego up to Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, San Diego to Los Angeles
Gotcha.
was the planned trip, right? And so a couple of the bigwigs over in Italy heard that, Ferrari of America was putting on this event, and said, "Hey, we'll send one or two of our guys over there to to represent, right, and like put our seal of approval on it." And then they were terrified to find out that guys actually planned on driving their cars from San Diego to Los Angeles. They go, no, that's not what they're for. You have a Ferrari. Like, you don't drive one. You have it. And all these Americans are like, "Oh no, we're gonna drive it." And they're like, "But that's like a couple hundred miles." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." They're like, "That's gonna ruin the value." And it's like, what's the point of owning the vehicle if you're not going to drive it?
Feels like a very American attitude.
Yeah, exactly. But when Corvette was producing the C8, the benchmark car they actually they used it against it was the Porsche 911.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they put it against, and they wanted it to be as good, if not better, than.
What do you think of the C8? And to be clear, I'm thinking specifically of the Stingray model. Yes.
So I'm not the biggest fan of it because it's not the easiest thing to modify.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to be able to modify something, make it unique to me. And one of the big problems, which just got solved on it, was that the computers were locked out.
Gotcha.
So Chevy a couple years ago said, because of online security issues, we're putting all of our computers on this, whatever the security system was, right? And what the security system would do was that if you hacked the computer in the car to tune it, because you put bigger injectors in it, cold air intake, whatever, right?
Take a limiter off,
whatever. If you logged into it to do that, right? The next time you started the car and it logged itself onto the system, which it automatically does, it would revert the tune back.
So I wonder if that got scooped up in right to repair, because that was a big thing in the tech industry. So Congress passed a law saying basically right to repair, which is caught Apple and a bunch of Apple and Google with their phones, made their devices very difficult to access, very difficult to repair, and would void the warranty if you opened it up. So I've got this iPad here. To get into this is a nightmare if you want to get in and replace the battery or something like that. And so Congress passed a law that you can't void out a warranty if somebody repairs their own device.
Yeah. I know John Deere had the same problem.
Yeah. So right? I wonder if the thing you're talking about, and you say that they fix it, I wonder if that's connected to right to repair.
Well, it was who was it? It's one of the tuner programs. HP Tuners broke it. Basically, they found a way to break into the system and disable that.
Gotcha.
I do believe the two events happened close to each other, so it might have been an internal thing at Chevy that finally allowed them to...
Basically them saying, we're not going to fight it.
Yeah.
We're just not going to help it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very easy for Chevy to say, look, you hack your computer and you do something, you change an aspect of the car, it's yours.
Sure.
But we're not required to warranty it.
And I can understand that philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, but there's a big difference between you modifying your car and me modifying my car.
Yes. But, there were certain things that, certain guys tried. So, Ford, with my model of Mustang, right? Part of it is was line lock. And what line lock does, it takes the front brakes and it clamps them shut so that it locks the front wheels and it unlocks the rear wheels so that you can do a burnout, right? So that way you don't burn up your brakes.
Gotcha.
Right? So that the rear brakes aren't working, but the front ones are.
Okay.
Right? It's a stock feature of the car. If you ever used it, it voided your warranty. Right? And it logged it if you ever turned it on. Right? It logged it inside the computer. Right? So Ford got sued almost immediately because of that. And
one does.
And they dropped that policy.
Yeah.
Because it's stupid. You shouldn't be... Your warranty shouldn't be voided for using a product provided to you by the manufacturer.
Well, that was Tesla had something like that a few years ago. It was Fisker. I think it was Fisker.
Yeah, I think are they out of business?
I don't know.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
They had a feature though, so they had launch control on their electric vehicle, but they limited you to 300 launches. And after you did it 300 times, it would lock you out of the system. And so you could launch control this car and get like incredibly fast off a line.
Yep.
But after you did it 300 times, you were done. They would completely lock you out of that.
Yep.
Which is dumb. If you want to do that with your car, it's not good for it. Like, it's going to burn through your tires. It's not good for your brakes. It's
bad for the batteries too.
Yeah. But you know what? If you're going to do it, put a counter on it so that the person buying it next knows how many times you've done it, but don't lock them out.
Yeah, that is dumb. One of my favorite things, the Tesla Plaid, has.
Have you driven one of those yet?
I've not driven one of them yet. I'd like to.
Yeah.
But it has its own launch option, right? And it will like lower the car.
Yeah, it's like ludicrous mode or something.
Ludicrous mode, and then there's a launch control inside of ludicrous mode.
Okay.
But to do it, it has to heat up the batteries a lot to produce all the power that it needs. Lowers the car, puts it in a special mode and everything. And so I know a couple guys that try to drag race Plaids, right? And they'll make it past round 1. But every time you use ludicrous mode and the launch control, it uses 30% of the battery.
Right.
Like, it chews through it, right? And generally, between rounds, you have 45 minutes. And so once you get below, I believe it's once you get below 55% of the battery, it will not allow you to use ludicrous mode. So you can generally use it twice. So I love it because these guys will get past round 2 and they'll be like, yeah, and they go up there and the car goes, but and they can't make it to third round, or if they do make it to third round, it just doesn't do anything. It just kind of.
So I think that's where, like, I think what you're probably going to start seeing is, like, I went to a supercharger. I rarely have to go to superchargers because I charge at home. But I'd driven out to the beach, and then I was driving somebody back to the airport. So I was driving like 400 miles. And so right when I got to the airport, I was at a point where I needed to charge. And they just put in a 350 kilowatt hour charging station there. My battery was at 7%. I plugged in, and it took 25 minutes to charge to 100. That is insanity. And I expect, especially if your sport continues to grow and more people start bringing electric into it, that's going to be a thing you start seeing more and more of, is some of these bigger power stations showing up. To allow electric cars to kind of top off, similar to refueling.
Yeah. The main thing that electric has to work around is the weight problem. Right? So Porsche said it best, simplify and add lightness. Right? That's Porsche's sports idea. Right? To make a car faster, you either have to add horsepower or make it lighter. Right? And the lighter you can make the car, less horsepower you need to go as fast as you already are going. Right? And so, like, I mean, we're using that on the car now. We're adding horsepower and we're reducing the weight of the car as much as we can. Right? The problem with a electric car, as I see it, is the only way to get it to go fast, you have to have those battery packs, and those battery packs weigh a ton. And to get the horsepower you need for an electric car to go fast, you have to have a lot of batteries.
So that's not necessarily true. The more batteries you have doesn't necessarily affect how much power you can apply at any given time. It applies to how long you can run that for. What's actually the bigger factor is not how big your battery is, but how much throughput it can have. I mean, you could, in theory, and I think this is probably what we may start seeing modders start doing this. I would guess is you could put a smaller battery in. So take like a Tesla Roadster as an example. That thing has a pretty small battery, all things considered. But it's also really small and really light.
Well, it's based off a Lotus.
Yeah,
they used a Lotus to build it.
So I think what you could potentially start seeing as batteries get smaller and all that is you could see people putting these high throughput batteries in, but putting less in, just enough to do your drag, like enough charge to get you to the line and get you to the end.
Well, you know what they really need to do to make a electric drag race car practical is the batteries need to be replaceable.
Yeah,
and a quick replace.
I think
option.
I saw somebody who made that.
There's a Chinese company that has one that you can replace the batteries, but it's still like a 2-hour process to do it.
Yeah,
like it should be kind of like doing a DeWalt battery or something like that. Like you should be able to like click, pull it out, take the new one, slide.
No,
it in
I think
place.
I think I saw somebody though who made it like literally it had like its own set of wheels, and you'd push a button and then it would drop down. You would drive off of it and drive onto the next one.
Yeah,
and then it would raise up.
Yeah. I mean, that's realistically what you need.
Right. I mean, Tesla's is not. So to change out their battery system is like an hour long. So like you can change out the entire undercarriage of the car, which is what contains the batteries on a Tesla.
Yeah.
And like you can sit at the shop while they do it. It's like an hour long process. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the problem is, it's gonna take guys that are not currently in racing to bring electric cars into it, because most guys that are in racing, there's something about the rumble of the car, the V8 motor, the and it's like, if you've ever been in a car and then you put it on nitrous, there's just like that feel of that, a supercharger, a turbocharger, right?
Well, and I don't know, and this is from somebody outside of the racing world, I don't know if we necessarily want to move away from that. Like, I think, when I think racing, I think like Days of Thunder, and I think Talladega Nights, and I think like, it's there's something about
dropping the hammer.
There's something about the powerful American muscle car, and I think it's a uniquely American thing. Like, I could see Forza eventually moving more, like they already have moved into strictly using hybrids and using more technology in what they do, and I could see Forza kind of moving that direction on the European circuits. But I think there's something uniquely American about I'm not trying to turn right. Like, I'm building a car that turns one direction or goes perfectly straight. Yeah. And all I care about is how fast I can get from point A to point B. There's no finesse. I'm not like that. Not to diminish what you do. Not to say there's a finesse in it, but it's not in the same sense as like the like a Monte Carlo. Yeah. Where, your reaction times are, the reaction times of these drivers are insanity.
Well, reaction times for us are pretty high too, right? Because if you wait to see the light go green, you're going to lose. Right. Right. There's a certain amount of guesswork, but also skill in knowing when that light is going to go. And
so, do you play Mario Kart for practice, like to get that timing, like beep,
no,
beep,
nope.
beep?
Actually, I have an app on my phone. And it's a practice tree, right? And you grab the button, right, and the practice tree starts to go, and then you release it, and on my phone I can get down to like 002 on my reaction time, right? But what that does not take into account is the mechanics of your car. Right.
The amount of time it takes from you putting it into gear, you adding fuel into the line, to the engine translating that to the wheels.
Yeah. So my car and most race cars, the way that they are set up is we have what's called trans brake. Trans brake takes first gear and reverse and locks them.
How very progressive of you.
I know, right? It takes first gear and reverse and locks them together.
Okay.
Right? So you can take your foot off the brake and the car is not going to go anywhere, right? You slam your foot onto the floor and the car goes up to a predetermined RPM. Okay. Whatever you feel like the car can leave at without blowing the tires off, right? And so that could be 3,500 RPM, 4,000, 5,000, whatever you've determined is great for your car, right? And then the second you let go of that button, it just takes reverse away. That's all it does. Okay. Inside the transmission, just decouples those two and boom, the car goes off, right? So really the only thing that you need to know is how quickly from you letting go from that button does the mechanical release happen.
And we're probably talking like 0.02, 0.03 seconds.
Every car's a little bit different.
Right, but obviously knowing your car, emotional damage, like it's probably pretty fast.
Yeah, it's about I'd say 0.03 of a second that it does that. And so if I want to cut a better than 0.03, I have to let go before I see that green. So most drivers, what they do is, so you have the way a traditional Christmas tree is set up is you have pre-stage and full stage, right? So when you pull your car forward, there's two lasers that go across the track. And it's based off your tires, not the front of the car. So you're going to pull that front tire into the first beam, right? And you'll see the pre-stage light come on. etiquette says you should wait until the other driver has also gotten to pre-stage, right? And then it's basically whoever, you could choose to go in first, or you could wait for the other guy to go in all the way, right? And so the distance between pre-stage and full stage is 6 inches, right? So you'll pull the car forward another 6 inches, and you're at full stage. That starts a timer. The moment one guy is in full stage, and both guys are in pre-stage and one guy's in full stage, it starts a 7-second timer, right? If the other guy has not pulled all the way in by the end of that 7 seconds, his light goes red, your light goes green, and you go.
So he's been disqualified.
He has been disqualified. It's called a burn down. Is basically it's saying, look, we don't want that guy to just sit there forever and burn your car down while you're on the chip.
Gotcha.
Right. So if you don't pull it in within that 7 seconds, he goes red, you go green, you automatically win. Right. You could go through the traps at 10 miles an hour for as far as they care. Right. If he full stages,
how often does that happen?
It happens more often than it probably should. There's a couple different factors that can lead to that. So like on a turbo car, you need to build up boost, right? And so we have what's called a bump box on the car. So you'll get on the trans brake in pre-stage, right? You won't do it at full stage. You'll get on it, you'll put your foot to the floor, and it starts to build up boost, right? And once you've gotten to the RPM that you want in the boost level, the car levels out then and goes like that. That's what you're hearing. And a guy will hit the bump box, which it takes reverse and first and just goes like that real quick. And it just creeps the car forward like an inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, however you have it set up, right, till you're all the way in. And sometimes, like, the cars are just, it's not getting up on boost like you want it to. The bump box doesn't respond like you think it will, right? And so the car's taking longer to get in, and then all of a sudden, here goes your 7 seconds, right? Your 7 seconds are gone. There's some guys that are kind of jerks, and it's going to take them 6.99 seconds to get that car in, right? Courtesy says both cars should pre-stage at the same time and full stage at the same time. That's what courtesy says. A lot of it's mind games too. Like I've played mind games with guys too on the light. One of the things with my car being a supercharged nitrous car is I don't need to build up boost. I don't need any of that. I just stomp on it and the car goes. So one of the things I would do with like a turbo car is I would wait for them to pre-stage, right? And then I would immediately pre-stage, full stage. Just go all the way in, right? Get them on the timer so that they don't have as much time to build up, boost. And I hopefully get a small advantage on them going off. But assuming that both guys pre-stage, both guys full stage, about 0.4 of a second later, that light's going green. And it goes yellow-green, like quick. So most of us wait till we see the yellow, and the millisecond you see any yellow, you just let go. And your car will not react faster than that green light will come on from seeing yellow.
It's crazy that you're talking about, like, when you're talking about times like this, 0.01 seconds matters.
It does.
And I'm curious, like, when you're racing, again, pardon my ignorance on the sport, at the end of the night, are all scores measured against each other, or is it like, could you have the second fastest time of the night, but you lost in that first heat?
Yep.
And you're out.
Yep.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it goes by rounds, and if you lose once, you're out.
How are the rounds determined? Are they like drawn from a hat, or is it like a ranking system?
So there's different ways of doing it. One.
Ooh, are you popular?
I am popular. It's Mike, the next door neighbor. I'll call him back later.
Yeah, that's probably the dogs.
Yeah, he's probably downstairs in the garage. So there's a couple different ways of doing it. Bigger events will have qualifying. So like on a Thursday or a Friday, right, they'll say, hey, you show up, make a couple rounds. Whoever's the fastest will be our number one qualifier. We'll go down from there, right?
So one gets pitted against 16.
Yes, exactly.
And two against 15.
So there's some reward for being the fastest in qualifying, right? Theoretically, right? Because you are the fastest, and in first round you get to race the slowest guy. So you have the best shot at
Getting through round one.
getting through round one and to winning the whole thing, because you're always going to race
Somebody who's
the slower than you, right? Whereas like if you're
Well, let's be fair. If you're the fastest, everybody is slower than you.
exactly, but like let's say that you were that number 16 guy and you are the slowest, right? You're going to it's going to be the hardest for you round one,
Right.
and everything after that is going to be easier.
Right. So you win round one, like
Yeah, you got a shot.
Yeah.
Right. The other way that we do it is called a chip draw, right? Which is like however many guys you got, you put a bunch of poker chips in there, a red one and a black one of the same numbers. So 1 1, 2 2, 3 3, and it's red is right lane always, and it's just you reach in there and you pull it out, and you might get the fastest guy.
So if you're
might
number
get the
one
slowest.
and number two get slotted again, like if the number one favorite and the number two favorite are in the first round, tough luck.
Tough luck.
Yeah.
I mean that's happened several times.
That's that's tough.
There was a race a couple years ago, and I might get some heat for this, but like I was favored to win and somebody else was favored to win. Like, and we pulled each other first round and he knocked me out first round.
Yeah.
Right? And we ran an identical time. Like the only difference between our cars was the leave. I left at 0.09 of a second and he left at 0.075. So there was only 0.015 of a difference, and we kept that difference the entire way down the track.
Wow.
We went through the traps at the same time and the same mile an hour.
Wow.
5
Kind of like that Olympic runner a week ago.
Yep.
With the Jamaican, and like their times were identical.
Yep. 5.93. And we had a 590 breakout. If you went faster than 590, you were out. 5.937.
So is the end determined by when the front of your bumper crosses or when your tire crosses the line? Like what's the how do you determine
it's the bumper.
It's the bumper.
The front
and is
bumper.
it touching the front of the line or clearing the line?
It's the moment that anything breaks the beam.
Okay.
Right, there's a laser that goes across it. The moment anything breaks the beam, it
and
says
does that
left
like
or right.
trigger a photo or something?
Yeah, I mean it triggers the system to say left or right.
Okay,
Right?
I see.
The beam knows where you were when you
So
did it.
why not like put a spike on your car?
So that is what some guys do. We jokingly call it a pecker extender.
Yeah.
The NHRA rules is that from the center of your front wheel to the front of your car can be no longer than, I think it's 27 inches.
Okay.
Right? So you'll see some guys with like a piece of, like literally a license plate sticking out in front of the car like that. Right?
That is measured to exactly 27
exactly
inches.
27 inches. And it's because, the front of the car is a little bit shorter. I could extend the front of my car another 6 inches if I wanted to.
So why don't you?
Because I don't want to get ridiculed by everybody for
I
having a
see.
pecker
So
extender on the
it
front
is-
of my car.
It's a pride thing.
Yeah, although I have said if I lose another race by 0.01 of a second, I'm putting a freaking pecker extender on my car and just living with the ridicule.
So, all right. So I wanna come off this really quick because you had an accident last season.
Yes.
So
which accident are we referring to?
I'm talking about the one that knocked you out.
So yes, that was the engine exploding
Okay.
at Rocky
So what
Mountain.
happened, and what's kind of next for you in emotional damage?
So what happened was that the car setup was a supercharger nitrous setup, right? And the reason that we had the nitrous is that the nitrous cools down the supercharger and makes the boost more efficient. And also nitrous is a power adder, right? It makes the car faster, right? There's no getting around that. And if it's going through a supercharger, it's exponentially better than just having nitrous or just having boost. Like the two together really work well. So something in the system went lean. We don't know what, but basically the leaner your fuel mixture, right, the hotter it gets. If it gets lean enough, it becomes like a plasma torch.
Right.
We don't know whether it was the nitrous system that went bad. It wasn't the injectors as far as we know because they were brand new. The fuel system was brand new. I had them checked afterwards and they all were perfectly fine. Something went lean and it burnt up cylinders 2, 3, 4, and 5. Literally burnt through the heads to the outside of the motor, through the water jackets. Sorry.
No, this is hard stuff.
No, I'm just stuffy.
I get it,
jerk.
You can cry. Real
it's emotional damage.
Real racers cry.
Yeah. Yeah, real racers cuss is what they do. There was some of that going on inside the car. But that happened at about just past the 8th mile. And so I was doing between 130 and 140 miles an hour. And when it did that, your water system in your car generally has about 8 psi running through it. It took all of the boost from the engine and dumped it into the water system because it burnt into the water system. And so it blew off every water hose in the engine, dumping all of the water from my engine and my radiator under my tires, sending the car sideways at 140-ish miles an hour. That is the kind of situation you never, ever want to be in as a driver, because you've pretty much lost all control. Nick and Frey had always drummed into me, if this happens, do not slam on the brakes. Do not slam on the brakes. Try to keep some throttle in it because that's your only chance of getting the car corrected, right? Is being able to get the wheel speed to, get the wheel speed down, but don't lock up the brakes because you've given up all control at that point. Mm-hmm. So the only thing I didn't do that I should have done was throw the parachute. I should have thrown the parachute because it would have acted like an anchor behind the car and helped to straighten it out. But I got on the brakes, got off the brakes, got on the brakes, got off the brakes, taking your foot off.
Yeah, the stuff they teach you in basic driver's ed.
Yeah, but everything in your head is yelling.
When you hit ice.
Yeah, and everything in your head, though, is yelling, don't get off the brakes. Stay on the brakes. But I stayed disciplined, and I was like, this is my only chance of saving the car. So, I got on it, got off it.
Was the concern at that point, the car rolling?
The concern was hitting a wall.
Okay.
Right. Luckily, there was nobody in the lane next to me. So
because they'd gone past you, or you were.
It was a solo pass.
It was a solo pass.
And I made the executive decision of this is my entire track now. So I aimed for the middle of the track. Okay. I was like, I'm going to aim for the middle of the track because that's going to give me the most space. Because the car didn't instantly go sideways. It was started to crab. It started to crab towards. I was in the left lane, so it started to crab towards the left wall. So I instantly started giving it input to go right. I got it to the middle of the track, and at about 50 miles an hour is when the back came around. So I was really happy that that's where I was, because if I'd been closer to the wall when the back came around, it would have just destroyed the back of the car up against the concrete barrier.
Mm-hmm. The thing that's designed not to break because it's planned for cars to hit.
Exactly, at high speeds.
Yeah.
So, car came around on me, yanked it back to straight. It came around again. Was aimed at the wall, actually, at one point, and then the car came to a stop.
All this is taking place over the course of what? 3 seconds? 5 seconds?
Yeah, about 3.
Okay.
About 3. It happens like that so quickly. And a lot of it isn't conscious thought. It's just instinct.
Yeah, it's a lot of. I imagine a lot of training, a lot of practice, and then a lot of muscle memory.
Yeah, it's just you have to go into save the car mode.
Yeah, I mean, how many miles? I mean, how many hours do you have logged on a track at this point and on a car at this point? I imagine your body just kind of goes into autopilot.
Yeah, because this hasn't been my first time with the car acting wrong on the track, right? It's never been this out of shape before. I've twice ended up sideways looking at the wall, which is always a scary thing. And the first thing you gotta do is get out of the damn throttle. The guys that stay in the throttle and are like, I can save it. It's no, you can't.
Right. That's
a concrete wall and momentum is against you. Just get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main things is if you want to go fast, don't be in a hurry to go fast, right? Slow and steady is the better way to do it. I know guys that have a lot of money, right? They got into drag racing. They got their first street car, and in the 1/8 of a mile with your first street car, you're going to be running 8s and you're going to be running 7s. That's fast enough for most people, right? But the problem is that they have money, right? So they'll go to a shop and say, I want to go fast. And the shop is going, cool, we'll take your money, right? We'll build you a car that'll go 5.5, into the 4-second range, right? With a driver that is not ready to go in the 5.5, 4-second range. They've never been a 6. They've never been a 5, right? And it's really hard to know the difference between a 7-second pass and a 5-second pass until you do it, right? It's the same pass, but it's faster and it's just more. There's more input, and you have to, as a driver, be able to ignore the input that is not necessary to what you're doing at the moment. And like that's my only thing is I would tell other racers, like, if you want to get into this, start slow. It's okay to start slow. Just do what you're comfortable with and get progressively faster as you're comfortable with it. Don't just jump into a super fast car because you have the money to do it, and then you get into a situation where you don't have that muscle memory. You're not going to jump in an airplane and fly it by yourself because you have money. Right. So don't jump in what's essentially a missile going down the track, when you've logged no hours driving a missile down a track. But everybody thinks because they drive a car down the road that they're a driver.
Right.
You're not.
So you're saying it really is safer to not be rich and build your way up to a fast car than to start with a fast car and get yourself killed.
Yeah, it's very, very few people are born natural drivers, right? I'm not a natural driver, right? I've had to learn it, right? There's like...
No, but I think the thing you are, Nate, is you're a naturally prudent person, and I think that compensates for some of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm naturally cautious. I definitely am.
Yeah, but not so much to the point that it would keep you from doing
stupid stuff like going down the track at 155
miles an hour. Yeah, like driving a
hour.
missile down a track.
Yeah. Well, that's also the adrenaline junkie side of me, right? There's no better adrenaline hit than going down the track.
Yeah. Okay, so you're out for this season.
Yep.
What's next? So like, talk to me about what's your comeback tour, and what can we expect from the Fast Plumber?
So the car, me and Emotional Damage will be back in 2025.
Okay.
We decided to take this entire year off and rebuild. We're making some changes to the car. One of the big changes was safety, right? This going sideways at 130, 140 miles an hour will open your eyes very quickly to this thing is faster than
and you're
it's
a dad
supposed to
now.
be. I'm a dad.
Like, when you got into this, you were just you, and I feel like your life has changed so much since then. Not to say that you have so much more to lose, but like I
have more to live for.
Yeah, you have a lot more to live for.
Yeah. So we're updating the cage so that it's a lot more safe. I've updated my own like personal safety equipment that I wear to the track, the seat that I'm sitting in, all sorts of stuff. And then we're also making the car faster because, the guys that I've been racing with have gotten faster, and, they've been talking some crap about me. And so I'm like, you know what? If it's going to be down this long, I can stay out a little bit longer, build the car how I want it, and we're going to come back and we're going to kick some serious butt.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
I'm keeping a lot of the stuff we're doing to the car pretty close to my chest.
Okay.
I'm not sharing a lot.
So you're not gonna share that here on the podcast. So we don't get an exclusive.
No, like there's some stuff that I've already said. Like we're going twin turbo with the car, and we're we're putting all the cage work in it. That's basically what I've said.
But you're not gonna tell me what you're doing with that jet engine downstairs in the garage.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No. That's between you and me only.
Okay. Yeah. I my lips are sealed.
Yeah.
I will not say anything about the duct tape and jet engine that I saw strapped to the back of
It's Gorilla Tape.
It's Gorilla Tape.
Come on. Yeah, I buy the good stuff. Yeah. But I definitely want to get you to the track, one of these days. I have gotten your kids to the track and your wife.
And they loved it. The
Yeah.
problem is, up until recently, I was running a whole bunch of businesses, and they required so much of my time and attention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down to one.
You're down to one business.
Down to one business.
Yeah.
Which is good. So hopefully I have a little more time. And I would love to get out and watch you race.
Yeah. It was pretty funny because Brady was Brady the one time he came out, and they got there like as I was about to go down the track.
Perfect timing.
But I have like a mental thing that I go through where like I'm getting my head in the zone. I'm like ignoring everything else.
Is it like Lightning McQueen? Speed.
Like,
I am speed.
not so much that. It's just like, breathing, getting my heart rate in control,
Right.
and just,
I imagine it's a lot of becoming very in tune with your own body.
Yep.
And your own thought process, your own muscles, feeling everything relax, so you can get into that
zone,
right?
And so I'm in the beginning process of that, and all of a sudden Brady is like climbing into the car because he saw me, and he's like, "Uncle Nate, how's it going?" And he's grabbing all the things, and I'm like, "Hey Brady, how's it going?" Get.
And you won?
I did not.
Oh,
I did not. That was actually that race I was saying that it was a toss up between me and the guy, and we ran the exact same number.
And you know what?
If
Brady hadn't gotten in your head,
yeah,
I'll bet you.
I would have cut a better light.
No, I'll bet you your competitor probably got to Brady.
Yeah, he probably.
And
Yeah, Justin, you got to Brady.
Probably gave him some sugar.
Yep.
Probably, waited until he saw you get into that stand. It's like, hey Brady, look, there's Uncle Nate.
Yeah. 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 That's definitely what you did, Justin Taylor. Wow.
Not to call anybody out or anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's one of the few guys I've never managed to beat.
Okay. Does Justin have kids?
He does. He has 2 little girls now.
Okay, so send him
he's got 1 little girl and another on the way.
Send him noisy toys for Christmas. That'll get even.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's going to come on the podcast at some point. We're just trying to work out the schedule.
Okay, so 2025, you're back.
Yep.
And what we can expect is faster,
Yep.
safer,
Yep.
And same class.
We're going to move up class.
Okay, so more competitive then.
Yeah, we're going to move up to the Extreme Street class.
Is it the highest level of street racers?
So for like a streetcar takeover, it would be, except for like a Kings of the 28s, which basically a Kings of the 28s, the only rule is the size tire that you have to run. Mm-hmm. Other than that, there's no rules really. It can be a methanol car.
So that is the jet engine.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like I'm not ready to go there yet.
Sounds expensive.
It's very expensive, but it is one of those like I'm ready to step up to that next class.
And then I heard a rumor about maybe starting your own classic. Like
my own race?
Yeah.
Yes. So I've been talking with a couple guys, and I'm trying to get it all put together. But I want to put on my own event.
Okay.
It's going to be called Show Up or Shut Up, is the name of the event. Because there's a lot of guys that do a lot of talking.
Okay.
But they don't do a lot of racing.
Okay.
Or if they do, they only race certain people at certain times under certain conditions. So this is going to be it's going to be called Show Up or Shut Up. I'm going to put together enough classes where guys can be in and be competitive. We're going to have some pretty good payouts. I'm hoping to get some sponsors on board. And I want to make this an event for people to show up and to watch.
Yeah.
I want this to be a spectators event.
Gotcha. We'll count the 541 company as a sponsor. We'll get in on that.
Okay, that would be awesome.
Yeah, because I think that'd be super cool, especially if it's here local.
Yeah, it's
in the Raleigh market would be great.
Yeah, my plan will be to be running at Galat,
Okay.
Dunbenson, which is the closest drag strip we have here to Raleigh.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful facility if you've never been there.
I can't wait to see it.
It's really, really nice. Actually, I'm going to be there tomorrow night, or actually tonight when this podcast comes out. I'll be down there at the Test and Tune helping out my buddy Birch with his car Ghost.
Okay. Well, that should be fantastic.
Yeah, Ghost I say we in the loosest sense of that term. I help a little bit with that car. It's made a couple changes recently, and she's getting ready to put down a number.
So I wonder if there's any point in trying to make this more of a spectator event and trying to get more people there, trying to maybe combine it with some of those car show things where people bring out their classic cars just for people to look at.
Yeah.
Maybe trying to combine it with one of those so that you can kind of bring some audiences together and maybe grow awareness of the sport.
So that's definitely more your bag of promoting and stuff like that, advertising and stuff like that. If for me, what are some areas you'd say, hey, look, try to get this, try to talk to these people? Would you say get on the morning radio station.
Yeah, I think
YouTube or Facebook ads or stuff like. Where would you say, like, for a local market race?
I mean, a thing like this, word of mouth is going to be your best friend. And so the best way to get word of mouth is going to be cross-pollinating audiences. And so you already have a couple of really good things. So, like, trying to make sure you have multiple classes is going to make it so more people who are already interested can be involved.
Yep.
But then things like, having a car show there at the same time would be a way to, again, grow it with even a more of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely consider some local morning radio shows hopping on and hyping up the event.
Yeah, Sunday.
Well, no, not even doing it in advertising. Get on with just call in with the local disc jockey.
Yep.
A lot of these guys they love talking to people who are doing really cool local stuff.
Yeah.
So just get on and take 5 minutes and talk about the event and how exciting it's going to be. And I would definitely, like you talked about, there's some drama between people. Play that up. People love that stuff.
Yeah.
So talk up the the WWE nature of it. As far as the event itself goes, I would do things like put a microphone by the track and let the competitors in front of an audience call each other out for what their time is going to be and how much better their car is before they run their time.
Yeah.
I would say this would be a good chance to kind of combine a little bit of what you might watch at a WWE event and bring some of that into your event.
Well, that
to
was
make it entertaining.
That was the attraction of Street Outlaws.
Mm-hmm.
It had the drama, but it also had the competitive racing side of it.
Right.
And they always followed all the little backstories of all the stuff going on.
Yeah. And then good fair food. Like,
yeah.
Make sure that there's food options there. People will come. They'll stay a long time.
I think we know somebody who can do some catering.
Yeah, but also just hot dogs and cheeseburgers and funnel cake.
Yeah.
Like,
invite a couple food trucks out there.
Yeah, get some food trucks out there. Make it a good family event. And then I think that would be a really good way to get going. And then the idea with a lot of these events is, year one you do it scrappy and you figure it out, and then you learn from that, and year 2 is a little bit bigger and year 3 is a little bit bigger, and then by the time you get to year 4, year 5, it should be well established at that point, and you have some traditions that you can do, but you'll have a few more resources to kind of make it a bigger deal.
So what do you think about there's a debate right now about live streaming races and not live streaming races, because
I'm trying to see a downside.
Well, so like some promoters will go, well, if I live stream it, people are just going to sit at home and they're not going to come.
I don't buy that. So here's the thing. The reason you go to a track is very different than the reason that you watch a race. Mm-hmm. If you're just interested in watching a race, but not so interested that you're going to go down to the track, you're not going to go down to the track. There's nothing that's going to get you down to the track. The reason you go down to the track is the sounds, the noise, the people, the atmosphere.
The betting.
The betting. Like, yeah, sure. It's all those things. It's being able to be there. I don't think live streaming is going to hurt your audience, but what it will do is it'll grow your audience.
Yeah.
Because what will happen is, and especially if you do it right, people at home who are watching are going to see it and hear it and wish they were there. And next year, they're going to come.
Yeah.
So I would say live stream every event. And there's some great ways to do it. YouTube live streaming is fantastic. There's Twitch. You could even, reach out to local television stations and say, hey, we're going to be having this event. This is the night where it's going to be like our finals, and it might be interesting to like actually broadcast this on a couple of local stations, or even just get the local news team down to run a goodwill story on the race going on in Benson. Mm-hmm. Those are all things you could look at that would not necessarily grow this year's audience, but they'll definitely go a long way towards doing two things: growing next year's audience, but also bringing more awareness to the sport, which honestly brings more sponsorship opportunities to all the racers in the sport.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, kids. I mean, my goal isn't really to make money at it. It's just I want to put on a good event. I want to give the racers something to race for, and I want to give the racers good money to run for.
Yeah.
But it's also I want to bring in good competition.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of these events I go to, you race the same 3 or 4 guys over and over and over again, and it gets kind of boring. You want new guys in. You want different cars. That's why I like a streetcar takeover out at ZMAX in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
500 cars
Right.
get into that event. You are never racing the same guy twice.
Yeah.
You know, it's always somebody different. And that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. That's Streetcar Takeover is probably one of my favorite events. They do 15 races a year at different tracks around the country.
So when can we expect, like, when would you want to be making an announcement about this this race?
I would probably be making an announcement about this race towards the new year.
Okay.
Because I still got to work out a deal with the local track, see what they would charge me, because basically what they're going to say is you need to rent the track.
Right.
You have to put up the money to rent the track, right? So I have to work out a deal with the track to rent it for a day with staff and stuff like that, and then I have to work out the sponsorships,
Gotcha.
right? Because like a lot of this is going to come out of my pocket, probably to start with, but I don't want all of it to come out of my pocket.
Sure. Well, I think reaching out to some local car dealerships, letting them sponsor.
Mhm.
I'd reach out to Heister, and I'd reach out to, the local Toyota spot. Like those are some of the low hanging fruits, but also law offices
Mhm.
and contractors, and like there's a lot of people who I think would be very interested in, hey, a sponsorship is $500,
Yeah.
and you get to put your sign up here. We're gonna give you guys a special call out.
Yeah.
At the event. That's good advertising. It's money well spent, and it can also help to do two things: get you the track, kind of buy some of the things you need, but then put money into a prize pool, which I think is really where you want it at. Because like if you could say, hey, we have a $20,000 prize pool, top prize is $5,000, but there's $15,000 in prizes for lower tiers. That then attracts, I would imagine, a lot more racers and a higher caliber of racer.
Yeah, I mean, Galat did one recently where on a Thursday night, they threw together a 28s race, which was the only restriction is the size tire, and it has to be a stock appearing vehicle. So you can't have like stretched the car or anything like that, right? And they said, hey, look, we're going to put $2,000 on it plus entries, right? And a couple local companies came in and said, hey, we're going to throw some money on it too. And it was $5,000 was to win on a Thursday night, and 20 cars showed up.
Yeah.
Just like, and it was all put together in like 2 days.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of one of my plans, is something I want to do,
Okay.
Everything in Racing presents Shut Up or Show Up, or Show Up or Shut Up.
Show up or shut up. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. Well, I'll be there, and if I can do stuff to help, let me know. I'm in. This has been so much fun, Nate. I really have enjoyed learning about kind of your racing journey, kind of where you're headed, and kind of seeing you. This has been such a it was such a small thing, and I didn't realize how big it had gotten. Just seeing it's really cool. I appreciate you having me on, and this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. Pinch hitting at the last second here. In all honesty, it's like less than 12 hours before this is going to be uploaded. So
Yeah, well, I mean, this is premium content. I would imagine.
Definitely our tens of watchers.
Tens of watchers.
Yes. So, but thank you, Pete,
Absolutely.
for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
Alrighty. All right, guys. We will see you next time.